Welcome to Animation Unlocked, where we unlock the world of the artists and creators behind the animated shows and movies you love. I'm your host, Talia Ellis, and today we've keyed into Apollonia Vick, who previously worked as a storyboard artist at Netflix and DreamWorks. She's going to be sharing with us her passion project of fire. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Apple.
Absolutely. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to be on this beautiful show, podcast, beautiful thing with all y'all. So thank you for having me.
We're so excited to talk to you about Of Fire today. For our audience, please tell us about your project. What is Of Fire about?
So, A Fire is about a young woman who's going through depression. She is a dancer, and we find her in this dream where she's attacked by these hands that represent her depression. But as she's being pulled down, she sees this light in the distance and she reaches for it. And then this fire being comes and tries to assist her, trying to rise her up again. And so this story at the core of it is about how do you rise from the darkness that you're in? And how do you find that spark and that passion? Because together they dance and they ascend basically back to the real world.
And you specifically, what is your role on the project?
So I'm the director. I also wrote this story and I was the storyboard artist. So if whatever you see on screen, I also had two revisionists come in to help clean up some shots, and they are very lovely. Christine Jones, along Cece, as we call her, and then Mia Starfrank, wonderful, wonderful people who assisted me. But yeah, director, writer, I guess producer at some point until Kathy came on to the show. So, woo!
It really is a part of you. This is your project. This is
Yeah.
really, really connected to you. And I know that obviously you've mentioned before, this comes from such a personal place. Could you elaborate more on what inspired this project and why you want to tell it in this format in animation?
So the inspiration for this story came from when I was depressed. I graduated with my master's degree, been in school for a decade since I was 16. And so when you graduate and you're trying to find a job, but nothing was hitting, like interviews, nothing and nothing and nothing. And then COVID hit. And I was actually in a very, very dark place where I had to be hospitalized because I completely, sunk into that dark place. But after that, I went into therapy to really, bring back and try to escape from that place, right? And what I did was parts work. I went into EMDR therapy, and a part of that is parts work, where you give your emotions a name. And so one of the emotions that I had was Martina, and she was a fire being, the part of me that really sparked, the part of me that really was the passion for what I did. And with that assistance and with that recognizing of that being in me, I was able to find that motivation again to make art.
So, Of Fire is the title. Why did you call this project Of Fire?
Because we're all that. Your flame never actually goes away. You're still a person who has that fire inside. And she's made of fire. So that's where the title comes from.
And your team for this project is relatively small right now. I think did you name all the members of your team earlier, or how many members are on it?
There is 15 of us.
15!
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
We have two producers, a lighting comp person, we have animators on the side, we have visual development team, and now we're creating assets, so we got a modeler and a rigger, and we're really putting it together now. So it's a beautiful time.
Now, you've mentioned a couple of times that you have like 3D modelers, you have riggers. When you were first making this project, did you conceive it to be in 3D?
So when I was making it, I did think of 3D. However, with the character of Fire, there was a bounce back between 2D and 3D. Because with the other films I've made, it's always a multimedia. So it's always 2D and 3D. And so in this particular case, we were like, okay, what if we had 3D, but we really made it look like an oil painting, with the textures moving around and because there's something so ethereal about that kind of stuff. We're really experimenting with like, okay, how does Blender work for us to render this out? Now we're pushing tech at the same time. Plus, the animators that I want on the team are all 3D animators. So I was like, get on over here.
Perfect fit then.
Yeah.
So how are you looking to achieve that kind of like oil painting effect on it?
Yeah, we're going through Blender. We're trying to use a specific type of shader that someone has created to see how that works. And I don't know how they do it, honestly, but I was just watching them tech-wise, showing it live in front of me.
That's fascinating. I'm so interested in how you guys are going to go about that project, because I love things that combine that like 2D, 3D, because I just feel like it brings a whole other level to it. What has inspired you? Like, what are the artists that have inspired you, or the media that has inspired you, that help formulate your vision for this project?
Always love me some Miyazaki, especially Spirited Away. I love how he handles monsters, and I love how he handles kind of real life snippets of emotions, like realistic emotions. Satoshi Kon is also an artist that I really love. Yeah. Going into the unknown and really pushing the medium to have the audience really experience like the depthful feeling, but with so few words. So those are the big players when it comes to this. And of course, like real life experiences and like dancers and people's stories. And, I took inspiration from just people, which I think is a really important aspect of storytelling.
You mentioned dancers. I was wondering, for this particular project, have you hired a choreographer, or have you studied a specific choreographer that you want Alina's dance to represent?
We studied contemporary dance. Like we went on, because I used to dance as well. Not competitively, but just my family were ballroom dancers. My sister was more a choreographer in theater. And so I was familiar enough with that world to understand the intent of how one uses dance as an art form. And so what we did, though, we went online to really see and capture studios, their artists and their dancing. Unfortunately, I can't remember at the top of my head who all their choreography was, because you grab the little things here and there, but we used contemporary dance rather than classical ballet or jazz or anything, because there's something so raw about contemporary.
So you're working with so many things that you personally love: the art, the dance, the movement, the blending of technologies here. But what has been your favorite part?
Ooh, oh, man, because when making films, the reason I love to be a director and to be in the leadership position is because I love watching the entire pipeline. I'm in love with the practice. I'm in love with telling the story and how all aspects of it coming together. I love watching audiences, because I've shown this film to people and they, seeing their response and seeing how it moves them. I think my favorite part was probably storyboarding it, because that's how I write. I write visually. Putting that storyboard together and iteration after iteration after iteration. I think that was the best part. And then, I don't know, then bringing on people, it's all good. I love it all. I love the whole thing. There'll probably be times I will cry, but through joy, or not. But no, every aspect is amazing, but storyboarding would be the one.
I think that's such a key part of art, though. You mentioned, like, sometimes I'll cry, and that is some of the most key elements of being in art and being of dance, of animation, is getting to that feeling, getting to those emotions. So the fact that the project can touch you while you're working on it, I think is such a wonderful and positive sign. Has any part of this project been challenging for you?
Oh, yeah. The hardest part was the story. Everybody kept asking the why. Why is she sad? Why is she in the bed? Why? And I had to make a conclusion at some point, to stick to my guns and say, like, the story is more emotional than it is formulaic. And so kind of as the director, sticking to my guns as to this is what I'm trying to say and this is how I'm going to say it, even if people disagree. So that for me has been the biggest challenge, is to stay in that space, because I grew up to be a people pleaser. I just want the story to be good. How do you want to see it? How do you want to see it? It's like, no, this is the vision, and that's where the passion has to stay. Because if it starts going off key, then that's where I start losing it. Even though the why is explained, even though we see her story progress, I'm like, I'm losing the passion myself. So I have to go back to the beginning of the original way I boarded this story. And I think that's the hardest part for all filmmaking. It's like films will be redone like 7 times, like even features, because you're trying to hit that what you're actually trying to say.
I think you've touched on something that's just so relatable for a lot of creatives, a lot of artists of any medium, that there is a balance sometimes that you're trying to strike between telling the story that's authentic to you and taking those pieces that resonate and that matter so much, and then also making sure that it's communicatable to an audience. I had the pleasure of getting to view this short. There's a whole part in the beginning of that story about Alina being this talent, and how is Alina going to find that spirit to dance for herself rather than for all the things in her past where people are putting her on a pedestal or seeing what she's doing next. And I think that's like a really good connection there too. Almost like your struggle with the film itself is reflected in the film.
Yeah. Oh, that's how the world works, isn't it? That's how you know it's real. I remember a friend told me, he was like, that's how you know you're really making art, is that you're going through it at the same time and you're discovering as you're going through it. And I'm like, oh, it's art with a capital A while we're going through it. Oh, no. But, I love that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, get the beret on. You've earned it. The artistic dream and the artistic nightmare, both at the same time.
I say when I'm like, if my production has gone well, when there's blood, sweat, and tears. Like when we've gone through all three, it's going to be a good film.
What other interests do you have outside of the world of animation? Are you into like CrossFit? Do you play D&D? Like what kind of things do you engage in outside of the animation world?
Yeah, to keep me human.
Yeah.
I love swing dancing. I love just getting around people, having a great time. I love eating, so I love going to restaurants and new restaurants. And I also love my dog, so we'll go on walks and we'll have a great time just playing and let her go to dog parks. And it's great because you have to have a balance, right? You got to live life as you do your work, but otherwise I'm also artist hermit as well. But it's like if you had a studio, I'm always in the studio painting, or I'm in the studio doing something. So this desk is where I sit most of my time. So
what are you hoping is the future of this project?
We get to have it be seen by everyone as much as we can. So we're hoping to go into film festivals to have people see it and have people experience it. And that's the next step of the goal that we want to do with this film, alongside trying to just raise awareness of mental health, raise awareness of the struggle, and have people be seen.
How can we as a community help support Of Fire?
We have actually launched an Indiegogo to help fund the film. We want to bring in an orchestra because we have a magnificent composer who composed an original piece specifically for this film. The other part of the funding will go to like the technology, right? That I was talking about, really pushing how do we use this technology to really embrace the look of the film, the style of the film. So that's where the other, like render farms and just assets and all that kind of stuff. Another part will be going into animation and biz dev to really plus the acting and really plus the experience of what the viewer will be seeing. And then finally, a part of it will go to the LA fires that happened during this year.
So you can find that link to Apple's project Of Fire in the description. Indiegogo campaign ends May 7th, 2025. Make sure that you go and give her some support. So where can we go if we want to get even more updates and even more content about of Fire?
When you donate to the Indiegogo, even if it's just like $1, you're able to join our Discord where you can see us update of just like our process and just be able to talk to me and talk to our production team and just have a fun time. Just maybe sometimes we'll go on there and I'll do some drawing, or you'll be able to interact with us and see a little bit of the backstage of how our film is being made.
Thank you so much, Apple, for being here and for sharing of Fire with us.
Yeah, of course. And thank y'all for bringing me on to your show and being able to have this conversation and supporting us indie directors and just us people trying to make some fun projects.
If you want to see more from Apollonia Vick, check out her socials below and click the link to view their Indiegogo for Of Fire. That's all for now. We'll see you next time on Animation Unlocked.